Good evening, everyone. Well, when I say evening, it's sort of late afternoon on a Tuesday, and I'm just sat outside in my garden on a patio here. I just thought I'd take a break, enjoy the sunshine. It's beautiful this evening, and I hope all of you can enjoy what summer there is out there before the autumn arrives. But I thought I'd do an update on a case that I did a video on a couple of weeks ago by a chap by the name of Gordon Layton. Do you remember him? Age 53. He was awaiting sentence for child sexual assault, child molestation. I've just been reading through my paper again. I missed it, but this is a national paper I have here. But if it's in this one, it'll be in all of them anyway. So this guy, Gordon Layton, up in Tyne and Wear, Newcastle, he's had 13 years slapped on his backside in jail for his crimes of abusing children as a Jehovah's Witness. So that's now justice of some sorts that's now been meted out to him. But if you remember, the video I did was really about the other three individuals, and really an eye, sort of a window into the secretive world of the society when it comes to predators, child predators, and how the organisation does its best to conceal it as best it possibly can, and will use the elders to the best of their ability to make sure that they say absolutely nothing, that they don't cooperate in any capacity at all, apart from to smile inside their own silk suits when they're asked to. So they won't cough the wrong way, or the right way for that matter, unless they've been given permission to by the legal department in Bethel. Of course, that's then run from New York itself. So there we go. Gordon Layton's been given 13 years, and but once again, more interestingly, the three guys involved have had their names splattered across the national press. So I've got absolutely no problem putting it on YouTube, because it's across the whole country. In fact, it's probably across the whole world, because this stuff goes viral, doesn't it? So these three guys, these three elders, are by the names of Simon Pracer, Harry Logan, and David Scott. And this is going back to 2010. They refused to cooperate with the police and the probe, and this is what the Crown Court were told. A real indictment, isn't it? They refused to cooperate with the police. Okay, now you won't find this in the child protection policy of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. It's not in there. They won't talk about the fact that they instruct the elders to completely refuse any cooperation at all with the police. They won't say that. Even when the child or children may be under further danger, these elders will keep stum until they're told otherwise. Now that's not in the child protection policy, because they don't want it in there for obvious reasons. So we have to work it out for ourselves, and so do the courts, and so do the police. As I said before, the police have to work doubly hard to get a conviction with regards to Jehovah's Witnesses, with regards to child molestation and rape, because the people that are in the know refuse to cooperate. Well, I'm calling you out now, Harry Logan. I'm calling you out, David Scott and Simon Pracer. I'm calling you out. I'm going to ask you a few questions now. You're up in Newcastle somewhere that way, in Washington, Tyne and Wear, is it? Yeah? You're in a congregation, and it just got me thinking today. Please excuse the noise around. There's lots of people going home now, and so I'm right by the edge of the garden here. But what I wanted to do was just share a couple of things with you about these three men. And let's be honest, they're probably law-abiding men to a degree. They're not obviously law-abiding when it came to cooperating with the police here. But these are three elders. And the questions that are running through my mind now are these three guys well known in their area? Because they certainly will be now. I wonder if they work in factories or shops or offices somewhere. I mean, when it gets round that you're one of the guys that protected this paedophile, how's that going to look? What pressure are you going to be under because of that? it bears all sorts of thoughts on that for your own security. You know how society feels about those that protect paedophiles. And so there's no point in me trying to hide the fact your names are somewhere in secret, because they're not. And that's why I'm calling you out now. Because I'm sick to the back teeth of hearing about elders protecting policies rather than protecting children. So now your backsides are out there, vulnerable. So here's a question for you. Do you think the society would ever think about debriefing you afterwards properly, looking at your emotional welfare, your physical welfare, a plan for you to help your credibility in the future? Because all three of you have been disgraced here. To the average man in the street and the courts and the police, you're an abomination for protecting this guy. He's confessed. He's molested this child. And you knew that. And you kept it from them. Now, I know the society ultimately are to blame because you're following instructions, but you carried it through. You bear the brunt. And now you're going to take the pain of having to live with that guilt. And if you're not feeling guilt, you should be. Because you weren't protecting the child, were you? This is quite a controversial video in some ways, but in other ways it's not, because I want to bear the fruit of this. The more I thought about the fact that these three guys are now going about their daily business, and here you are, on the record now, in legal transcript, as being the ones, you three names, of holding back that information of a child molester. That's not a badge I would want in any day of the year. So I go back to my point about the society debriefing you. Has it done that? Is it looking into your welfare? Is it looking after you? Are they counselling you as a result of this very prolific case that you're now involved in your local area? Are they? They should be, but I bet you they're not. What they were interested in is concealing it, keeping it quiet, protecting themselves. It didn't work, did it? I've got another question for you three dear brothers, you three elders. I don't know you from Adam, but I suspect one out of the three of you at least has probably got children of their own. What does your wife think of this when you're following through this policy of protecting this man, now in retrospect? Do you believe it was the right thing to do? Do you? Do you still stand by your convictions that you did the right thing? That this was in some way an applied scripture? That you were some way giving justice to the child also? Because you weren't, were you? The courts took over, subject to their orders. You then had to give evidence. Otherwise you'd have been in big trouble, wouldn't you? This would have been some sort of obstruction, perjury, something like that. You'd have been in big, big trouble. And it would have brought an explosion on the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Wouldn't it? Deep down, brothers, you three elders are just the same as the rest of us. But you were following through with your responsibilities to this organisation that has now left you up on a washing line to dry, to take the heat, to hear from people like me coming out on YouTube, calling out your names and saying that you're an abomination. What I mean by that is the act of what you did was an abomination. It was evil. It was extremely unjust, unthought out, and does nothing to protect children. I have another question for all three of you in your local congregation the next time you are discussing in a talk about being in subjection to the authorities. None of you three are in a position to give that talk with credibility, are you? The congregation now know who you are, and they know that you did not follow through with what the courts ordered. And so therefore, you'll have no credibility in the congregation for talking about subjection to the authorities, about being humble to the authorities. So how are you going to handle that one? Once again, part of the debrief from the society? No, I don't think so somehow. Here's another one. If you had children, or you do have kids, and I'm sure this has gone through your minds. If it hasn't, then you're a monster. But if it has gone through your minds, and this sort of thing was to replicate itself in your congregation, and God forbid it happened to one of your kids, would you allow the same process to continue? Would you allow the same process to continue in exactly the same way that you were given the orders? If three other elders were protecting the information of a rape, and that rape happened to be one of your children, would you keep quiet? Would you? Would you follow through with the instructions of the society over the instructions of your own family and as head of your household? Would you? Can you see the abuse of power here? Can you see what this family has gone through? So yes, I do call all three of you out because you're all over the papers, and I don't see why we should take any sort of poor elders. They're just following orders. No, it doesn't cut any ice with me anymore. You were in court, you refused to help the police, you refused to help the judge, you refused to help that child, and you are despicable in your actions over that. Shame on you. So I hope one day that you'll look deeply into yourselves and realise that what you did was very wrong, because the whole world looks at you and thinks, why on earth did you do that? Why are you protecting him and not the child? I also ask you, if you want to private message me, then please do. I would welcome the chance to meet one of you, if not all three of you, up in Newcastle and discuss this policy. You won't, of course. You wouldn't dare. But the offer is there. You see, I'm not afraid to talk about this and talk about this policy and what it does to you as a human being. It makes you vulnerable as an elder to have to go through this very, very wrong misapplication of Scripture, and it leaves you and your family vulnerable, doesn't it? Trusting in Jehovah might not be enough this time. To start looking at all of the different angles about where you go from here. Because the congregation will surely be looking at you now as well. You see, all this does is create more problems. And it's all down to the fact it's based on dishonesty, it's based on protectionism of a corporation at the expense of the foot soldiers. And the foot soldiers on this occasion are you three brothers. And as for that poor child, there's the real victim. That is the real victim here. So, I'm going to leave it there. I want to share my thoughts with you. I don't care if you're upset by this, if you ever watch this. I don't care if you're angry by it. I don't even care if you think that somehow I haven't got all of the angles. Well, no, I'm not going to have all the angles. I'm just going to go on what the court says. And that's what the rest of the world will see too. So I welcome that. I welcome the fact that you can now, if you want to, PM me, private message me, talk to me privately. Because we are exposing this organisation and we're going to keep going. We're not going to stop. Because it needs to be exposed. We need to stop seeing children being abused like they are. Even all the organised churches are organising it now. They're getting themselves sorted. There will always be a problem like this, of this nature, of this stuff. But they're getting things in order. The only ones that aren't doing any of that yet, that are digging their heels in and are refusing to accept any new policies and procedures, that feel that they are absolutely within their rights to follow through with what they think is right, is the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. But I put it to you one last time, where in the child protection policy does it talk about making sure that the elders do not cooperate with the police? Where does it say that? It doesn't say that in the child protection policy, for very good reason. They don't want that coming out, do they? But time and time again the evidence shows that's exactly what they do. Their natural inclination is to protect the society first before the child. So I'm asking you 3 elders that protected this paedophile to think about your actions, to think about your wives and your children, and to realise that you are just a man, that you should not be protecting paedophiles in the future. And to every other potential elder out there, or ministerial servant, that gets caught up in this stuff when you become an elder, think very carefully before you become one, because the society will use you and chew you up and then spit you out when they finish with you. They don't care about you as an individual, as long as you cooperate and keep it absolutely the way they want it to be. Misapplication of scripture, yes. An injustice done on this child, yes. But the courts took over and they slammed him. 13 years. No thanks to you 3 brothers. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.